wonderful, wonderful day. And in this video, we are going to read a short story of this book. And I think I want to make this a series. I'm just gonna read parts of a book in different videos. Because I personally really like when you can just relax your mind and just listen to a story in your background and slowly drift away. So this book is Meet Cute. And it's about people meeting. Who would have thought? No, it's about like soulmates, a certain kind of way, like how they first met. And it's like a lot of short stories from different authors. And I just chose one. I just chose one today. And I'm gonna read for you. And I'm sorry. I'm gonna make some mistakes because English is not my first language. So I hope that's okay. And I hope that it's gonna be relaxing. I already picked a story out for today. There it is. Alright. The name of the short story is Print Shop. And it's from Nina LaCour. Alright, let's start. A high school parking lot at 11 p.m. My car under the bright light of a Singer Street lamp, a lit up classroom in the distance, and you next to me, asking how all of this started. You are so new to me, minutes new, and you're probably wondering why I'm trembling. And I might be reading too much into the way you faltered before you said hello. The blush that washed over your face, but I don't think so. It's early, I know. We've only just met, but this might be a love story, so I want to tell it the right way. I should start with Print Shop, the romance of it, the dark wood and the ink smell, the papers everywhere, sheets of it cascading off every surface. The old lights on the desk and the framed monotypes and screen prints, the mugs of steaming tea and Eduardo with his accent, and Neith with her pregnant belly, and especially Alexander, the shop owner, the artist, holed up in his office at all hours while his husband, Terry, calls in size and eventually shows up with a throne and dinner on a tray. And me, the bell jangling as I walked through the door in the beginning of the summer for my interview. I chose this shop because it was the only one I could find that didn't work digitally. They didn't even have a website. Everyone is always telling my generation that we aren't going to know how to engage with people. We're all going to end up with computer chips implanted in our brains and screens stuck in our eyes like contact lenses. But no one gives us any solutions. Just gonna take that real quick. So, where was I? Alright, but no one gives us any solutions, so I decided to find my own. Plus, I wanted to learn how to make that kind of magic. Ink and metal and screens and paper. I wanted to do something with my hands. Neve introduced herself and led me to 2 stools. Somehow I had expected to be meeting Alexander, the owner, but I didn't. I heard his footsteps in the lofted studio above us, though, and I sat in the glow of one of the skylights that lit his space, prepared to give my best answers. We need someone to help. Oh, now I'm gonna make some different. We need someone to help out and cover for me while I'm off, Neve told me, hands resting on her belly, explaining that the shop had a staff of only 3. Alexander did all the printing, while Neve handled customers, and Eduardo managed the finances and the back end. My dad had told me it's good to ask questions. It shows you're interested, he said, and that you'll be a quick learner. What does the back end consist of? I asked. Behind the scenes stuff, ordering the ink and paper. Basically, he deals with the supplies and keeps the roof over our heads. I get sales. Alexander makes magic. So when the babies come, it's going to be tough. Even though appointments have strained things a little. Every time the doctor calls, we're down to 2/3 of our staff. The phones just ring and ring because Alexander refused to talk to anyone. I glanced across the room to Eduardo, who was busy with the catalog. So he was the father? This was a question about which I was sincerely curious, but I didn't want to get too personal. But then Neve leaned forward and said, "We've been basking in a seemingly eternal youth, you know. And now, shit, I'm 37. I told Eduardo no or never and threw the condoms away." She leaned back and laughed. "Okay, thanks for tolerating my overshare. I like you. You're hired." "Oh," I said, "thanks." I shook my head to rid it of the image of the 2 having sex and stood up to shake her hand. That's another lesson my dad taught me, the importance of a firm handshake, and thus began my 11-week wait. I spent my mornings researching print techniques so I could talk knowledgeably when a customer's called. And I'll be honest, I wanted to impress Alexander. I thought that maybe, after so many years of doing this all on his own, he would want an assistant. An apprentice. I wanted to impress him so that maybe he would let me watch him work. In between learning printing terms, bleed when the ink prints beyond the edge of the page, debossing when an image is pressed onto the paper instead of printed onto it. Tried not to check Instagram with a post from my ex-girlfriend. We'd been broken up for 3 months. She was headed to another state for college, and I was stuck here in my hometown for another year. So we were trying to be friends, which, since school got out, seemed to mean very little to her. As soon as the days got hot enough, a group of us would gather at Becky's or Kirby's house, the 2 of our group with pools in their backyards, and then nibble away at their seemingly endless snacks. I always kept my phone near me, not for news or gossip, but in case the shop called me. At the end of July, I broke down and called to check in, fearing they'd changed their mind. But Neve assured me they were just behind, so swamped that it would still be a few more weeks. I just want to remind you that that once school starts, I only have later afternoons and evenings and weekends, I told her. Oh, that's fine. Alexander rarely arrives before 2. And then, 2 nights before the beginning of the fall semester of my senior year, she called and said they were ready. Which brings me to this morning. Picture it. I am standing in the doorway. Everything I'm feeling. Nervousness and determination and excitement. The weeks I've spent researching printing techniques and the years I've spent pinning Alexander's work to my Pinterest page. It's all on my face. And so is a carefully blotted coat of red lipstick, a pair of chunky black glasses, and a little mascara. My hair's in a neat bun instead of the usual messy one, and I'm wearing a sleeveless shirt buttoned up to the collar, and a pair of nice jeans. It took me ages to get it right. I wanted to feel like I belonged, even though I was 2 decades younger than the youngest of them. So I was standing in the doorway. I was ready to travel back in time, to when people looked into each other's faces instead of at their phones, and used landlines to place calls, and worked with wood frames and cans of ink and brushes. The bell jangled and the door shut behind me, and I heard Neve's voice saying, "Oh, principal, not principal, principal, principal." Shit, okay, we thought it was like the principle of hope. We were actually a bit perplexed by the phrasing, but there was something sort of poetic about it. "Welcome, Principal Hope." She spun in her chair, listening to the person on the other side of her call, and waved at me. I lifted my hand to wave back, and as my eyes adjusted from the bright summer morning to the dim, dusty clutter of the front office, I saw something. It was like one of those pictures in kids' activity books. Find the object that doesn't belong. But instead of blending into the scenery, it leaped out at me. 2 silver and 2 new, 2 deliberately placed on a newly cleared off patch of desk, with a chair right in front of it. A chair that might as well have had my name on it. A laptop. My heart sunk. "I sincerely apologize. We get a new one printed right away. When do you need it?" No, we can do it. I understand. I'll call you when I have an ETA. She hung up. What a shit show. But welcome, Eduardo, she's here. Eduardo appeared from the supply closet. "Happy first day," he said. But it was not quite the happy day I had imagined, because at their request, I was soon seated in front of the sole computer in the shop I had chosen for its lack of computers. "This is a really exciting day for us," Neve said. "We've been trying to convince Alexander for years that we need to have an online presence. Business is okay, but we rely almost exclusively on repeat customers, and some of our equipment could use updating. Replacement," Eduardo said. "More replacement than updating, unfortunately. So we need to reach a new pool of customers. We've been thinking about it, and then you walked in, a real-life millennial, and we knew you could be the one to make it happen for us. We need to hold on to our image," Eduardo said. "And a little classic, a little quirky, but also serious, radical even," Neve said, gesturing to the upper wall with the row of framed prints from various resistance efforts. A cluster of them caught my eye. Audre Lorde and James Baldwin, and Harvey Milk and Oscar Wilde. Alexander should be central, but not too prominent. More photos of the shop than the man. He likes to stay behind the scenes, so we need Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, what else? Snapchat, Pinterest, Flickr. Whoa, I said. I don't even have all those. We can start small, Eduardo said. Just a couple. What would make the most impact? Twitter, maybe? They were eager, ready to believe me no matter what I said. Neve was wide-eyed and nodding. Eduardo's head tilted like a giant bird's, watching me for guidance. It was not at all what I expected. I thought they would be teaching me. I thought I'd be watching them this way. It was my first day of my first ever job, and I came ready to take notes and try and make mistakes and learn from them. I was ready to absorb, but instead they were asking me to impart. I was trying not to let the disappointment engulf me, trying not to think so much of the colors of ink and techniques. I'd been studying this was not what so much of the colors of ink and the techniques I'd been studying. This was not what I wanted, but it was something I knew how to do, so I resolved to make the best of it. If it helped keep this business going, then I would do what I could. Social media is great, but we need something to direct it to, I said. We need a website. Alexander said no website, Neve said. What about just a landing page, I asked. An image, your contact info. That's all we'd need, super minimal. Neve glanced at the door of Alexander's office, even though he wasn't there yet. Eduardo shrugged. A good compromise, he said. What Alexander doesn't know won't hurt him. I set to work. Eduardo showed me how to use the shop's nice digital camera, and soon I was photographing prints, trying to get the lighting right, figuring out how to position myself so my shadow didn't get in the way. This will be a great way to familiarize yourself with the work we do, Neve had said, and she was right. The shop had some of everything, from letterpressed wedding invitations to original artwork. There were business cards and monogrammed stationery. There were limited edition books with thick pages and brilliant colors. But my favorite thing were the posters. I couldn't tell what had been commissioned and what Alexander had decided to do himself. Some of them had his signature stamp in the bottom right corner, and those I realized were his own art. Most of them were intricate geometric designs, and they were all editions of 25. At last I dragged the ladder over to the cluster of images that had caught my eye earlier. I had been saving them as a reward. It was a series, each with an image of a person and a quote by them below. They were all familiar to me because of Mr. Lee Hay, who was my sophomore English teacher and the first person I ever came out to. He's the one who first told me about Print Shop, actually, after I complimented a framed print that hung over his desk. The coming out was almost accidental, in the form of a love poem in a journal that I thought he would just check off and not read. But instead he wrote, "Love this one," below, and gave me a check plus. Then, P.S. I have some great queer writers to recommend, should you ever want something like that. It took me a couple of months of blushing and not meeting his eye, but then I finally stayed after school to ask, and he handed me a stack of books that he had apparently been saving for me all the time. I devoured them. When I wasn't sure of myself, those writers were sure of me. I was turning the lens, focusing on Audre Lorde's words that helped me and still help me sometimes, because even though my friends and family are fine with who I am, I know that plenty of people in the world and in our country are not, even if they hide it, even if they pretend they are saying one thing when they are really saying something else. Now the words were clear through my lens. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. And I snapped the picture and climbed down. The print shop handle was taken. No surprise there, so I added the name of our small California city. And printshopmartinez.com entered the Print Shop Martinez were born. I found the perfect part of the shop to photograph. A weathered wooden table strewn with printed posters and cards, cast in light from the leaded glass window above it. I used it as the home page for the website and simply added the name, street, address, and phone number in a small Helvetica type at the bottom. As minimal as it could be. Then I got to work on Twitter. I used the wooden sign with its hand-lettered print shop as the profile photo, and then the same table and window image as the background. Since I wouldn't be on clock every day to tweet for them, I wanted to schedule daily tweets out about a week. What do you want people to know about the shop? I asked Neve. Well, she said, and I held my pencil to the paper, ready to take notes. We are not cheap, and we are not quick, but we care a lot. We are attentive, or at least we try to be when we're not totally swamped, and I'm not 8 months pregnant, and Alexander's the absolute best in the business. We write for a certain type of client who wants a product that looks truly special. Discerning client. Discerning. We have a solid reputation and a 30-year history. We champion progressive causes, and Alexander has done a lot of pro bono work, but maybe don't advertise that, because I don't want to field a bunch of calls from people wanting things done for free. We use techniques that are almost obsolete, not because they should be, but because they take time and care and a little of dedication to master that most people aren't willing to exert. In other words, we are special, and we think our customers and their projects are special. She finished and smiled. Is that enough to start with? Oh, it's getting really windy outside. I hope that's not too loud. Just gonna take the mic real quick. So it's easier to read. Is that enough to start with? Absolutely. Alright. I had 2 pages of words and phrases to work with, so I took a seat at my laptop station and began composing our first day's treat. We've been around for 30 years, but we're brand new here. Please welcome us with a follow. We pride ourselves in quality over quantity. With us you find excellence in both product and customer service. Print shop, a discerning shop for the discerning client. Neve heaved herself out of her chair, off to pee for the 300th time today. Just as she got to the bathroom door, the phone rang. I looked at her, wondering if I should answer, but Eduardo picked up. Yes, he said. Oh yes, the banner. Well, Alexander isn't in yet, but I assure you it is our top priority, right? Yes, today, yes. I let Neve know you called. A history of progressive printing, I typed, and added the Audre Lorde image. I said back, how would anyone find us if we had 0 followers? It was the banner girl again, Eduardo said when Neve re-emerged. I really screwed that one up, she said. And Alexander has the whole Jenkins order to complete today. She eased herself back into her chair. On my question, I said to her, do we have any friends, like businesses that we partner with? Take a look at the client list, she said. Some of them are well known. She pointed to a green binder on a shelf near me. Go ahead and look through that. So I spent some time searching for our most recent clients on Twitter and following them. Then flipped through the binder and tweeted directly at the companies that have hired us and have a following. And one by one, people started following us back. Break time, Neve said to me. You can take between half an hour and an hour. Just make note of the time when you leave and get back, and deduct it from your shift hours. Okay, great, I said. Okay, great, I said. Before I left, I checked the scheduled tweets. One would go out when I was off, and then I'd reply to any others that came in and thank people for the follows when I got back. I got a burrito and ate it on a bright sideway patio of the restaurant. I ate fast, not wanting to take too long away. I checked my ex Instagram. It didn't find anything new, and then saw that I'd only been gone for 20 minutes. So I walked up and down the main street of downtown, looking into the windows of the new stores that had sprouted up in the old restored buildings. Things were changing. A lot of the antique stores were gone, replaced by a hair salon and a boutique. A former photographer studio where we'd had family portraits taken for a few years was now a wine bar. I began to understand why print shop needed to step carefully into the present. The town was changing, and the shop didn't want to be forgotten or left behind. I was feeling great about how much I had already accomplished when I got back. Neve and Eduardo were drinking iced tea from tall glasses, each working in silence at their respective stations. They offered me one, and I set it carefully next to the laptop and opened Twitter. There were 27 new follows and a bunch of people tweeting to welcome us, but then a new reply came in. "Are you kidding me?" I clicked on it. It was in response to the excellent tweet that went out over lunch. Whatever, I thought. The internet can be a mean place. I clicked the person's profile. Only 300 followers, no big deal. But then a few minutes later, another one came in, late and wrong. How exactly is this customer service excellent? Hey Neve? Yes? I'm sorry to bother you, but she must have heard something in my voice, because she was soon next to me looking at the screen. Yeah, whoever it is, they don't have a huge following or anything. What should I say? Just then the doorbell chimed, and there was Alexander, tall and thin, with a slight hunch in his shoulders, grey hair peeking out from under a straw hat, and a mug of coffee in hand, as though he had come directly from his kitchen table. "Good morning," he said to all of us, giving me an extra nod that sent a bright spark to my stomach, "and a warm welcome to our new addition. Neve, it will be a busy day. Let's get right to the schedule." With that, he turned and ascended to the stairs to his studio. Neve smiled at me and whispered, "Don't worry, I'll make sure he learns your name." She waved toward the computer as though she could banish our disgruntled customer's problem with a single gesture. Just use your discretion with that. I trust you." Then she was making her way up the steep stairs, and Eduardo was placing a seemingly endless phone order, and the angry tweets were glaring at me from the screen. I searched for a few business profiles to see how they responded to customers' complaints. I saw lots of "so sorries," lots of exclamation points, lots of personalizations, with people signing their first names or telling the customers the name of the person who would be getting in touch to fix the problem. One of them wrote, "Beth will be getting in touch with you within the hour. She's the best." I realized that would feel good, to have a problem and then be told that the best would be helping me to fix it. I switched back over and wrote, "So sorry to hear about your experience. Please give us a call. Talk to Neve. She will make sure your problem is solved." A moment later, another tweet came through. "I've been waiting for hours for her to call me back." Then, like the first cracks before an avalanche, from someone named Collie Girl 100. "What's going on? Is this about the banner?" From another girl. "You didn't hear? They spelled principal wrong." Lauren in real life wrote back, "I understand that they made a mistake, but I don't understand why they aren't fixing it or returning my calls." Then a new person. "I don't know you, but this sounds like a terrible business, and the way they are handling it is even worse. They kept coming, and I gave it one more try. We sincerely apologize for this, and are doing all we can to resolve the situation. Please DM or call for updates." I shut the computer. Eduardo was finally finished with his call. "This banner thing is becoming a real problem on Twitter," I told him. He showed me a cell phone screen open to the Twitter app. He'd been following along with everything. Maybe Alexander was right about all of this. We are an old-fashioned business. This technology may not suit us. He shrugged and tossed his phone on the desk. Then he added, "You've been doing a great job, though." I wouldn't have known what to say. "Thanks. Maybe when we get her the banner, she'll delete tweets, or at least say it had a happy ending." Eduardo glanced towards Alexander's studio. "Maybe," he said, but his voice lacked optimism. "I I was about to ask why when Neve emerged and crossed as swiftly as she could to the phone. She flipped through the green binder and dialed. "Jessica," she said, "it's Neve. So lovely to hear your voice. No, it isn't ready cried yet, but that's why I'm calling. I know we promised it by the end of the day, but Alexander's running a bit behind. I assure you they look gorgeous. We are going to deliver them to your office tomorrow morning. No, we don't mind at all. That will give you plenty of time to have them for the dinner, right? Wonderful. No, thank you. Say hello to Meg and have a wonderful night. And please don't worry about a thing." She hung up and dug a thumb into the space between her brows. Eduardo rose and wrapped his arms around her. "All the stress isn't good for you," he murmured. "I know. I try not to get wrapped up in it. Unfortunately, there's one thing you should see." He handed her his phone and she scrolled through. "Well, perfect," she said and climbed the stairs again. She tapped on Alexander's door and opened it, but didn't enter. "We have a Twitter problem. I said I didn't want the Twitter in the first place. We've lived without it for 30 years, so it doesn't much concern me. It's just the principle, banner. I know, it needs to be done over." "Okay, so it's on your to-do list, near the top." I heard some grumbled words and then the door shut. She made her way down again. "We have to go," Neve said to me, hand on her enormous belly. "We have an appointment." So much swam through my mind. Like, should I still leave at 5, even if there was no answer? And how could they leave me alone with Alexander, who didn't even know my name? But I could only get out the simplest of questions. What should I tell Lauren? That it's being handled," Neve said, slinging her purse over her shoulder. "Do you know, like, a specific timing or anything?" "Not yet. Maybe just a window?" "Sorry. Are you coming back after the appointment?" "No, it's 4 already, and the appointment is all the way in Oakland. And with the commute traffic," she looked at me. "Listen, we try our best. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we let people down, even though we really don't want to. He has this huge order for a long-time client to get through for tomorrow. And then he has this one banner for a new client. And I don't know if it's all going to get done. He's trying. I can't promise anything." Then they were gone, and I was alone in the downstairs of print shop. The down floor was locked, and the open sign faced in. Twitter was quiet for a moment, besides the occasional ping of someone following us back. I had more tweets